Hey everybody, we are live. It is April 1st. We have a lot of feedback apparently. There we go. All right, this is episode 22. Like I said, on April 1st, a Hump Day Hangouts. It's got myself, Adam, we got Bradley here, and Hernan is here as well, and I think we're going to have some other members hopping on, and all of you, of course. So without further ado and any actual April Fool's jokes, I'll hand it over to Bradley.
I was going to say, let's just cancel it early and say April. Hey, Hernan, what's up, man?
Hello, everybody.
Okay, guys, really, there's no formal training today or anything. We did that last week, and typically it's just a Q&A, but if there's something that I think is valuable that I want to share with you guys specifically, then I do. It's my call. So today we got several questions already, so we're just going to kind of really jump right into that. However, I want to make a brief announcement. One of our members of IFTTT SEO Academy hit me up yesterday. He's been actually really active in the Facebook group recently, and he's one of our newer members, but his name's Jamie Oler. A lot of you that are in the Facebook group will recognize his name because he's been so active. But he was actually happened to be in my general area today. So yesterday he hit me up and asked to schedule a lunch, and it was cool because I went and met him today, and he bought me lunch, and we spent about an hour and a half chatting shop, which was cool. So I just want to make that, let you guys know. If anybody happens to be in the Culpeper, Fredericksburg area of Virginia, anytime, feel free to hit me up, and we can go to lunch sometime. I like meeting students. I think that's fun. I'm so used to talking to people through a computer that when I get to sit down face to face and talk shop, it's a lot of fun. So I just want to give him a shout out for that because it was a lot of fun. So.
And no stalking Bradley, no weird stuff. Only good lunch meetings.
Can't do that. But if you're in the area, hit me up and I'll be happy to meet you sometime because again I enjoy that. I think that's a lot of fun. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the screen and we're gonna jump over. Yeah, I see you, Hernan. Don't distract me. We've got work to do.
Sorry.
So I'm going to jump over here and start answering some of these questions, guys. If you guys have any other questions, just post them right on the events page, and we'll keep right on rolling. We have MasterCLASS starting in 59 minutes from now, so if we get a chance to wrap this up just a hair early, we will. That way it'll give us a chance to start the MasterCLASS on time. A couple of announcements also that I do want to make prior to getting into this is next week on the 8th, so next Wednesday, the price rises for IFTTT SEO Academy from $47 to $67. That's a one-time fee. It's totally worth it. Ask anybody that's in the group. So just want to let you guys know if you haven't purchased it yet, you might want to jump on that before the price rises. Also MasterCLASS, because we've got a month's worth of content, especially after today, in there already. That's the monthly recurring. It's currently at $37 per month, but it is going up to $47 per month next week. And then probably the following month, everything's going to raise again from the IFTTT SEO Academy to $97, and then MasterCLASS will probably go to $67, which should be its final resting place, and stay at $67 for the duration of that course. So I just want to give everybody a heads up. If you haven't joined yet, it might be a good time now to lock in the low price. And other than that, let's get into questions. So Dion says, hi, I'm still going through the videos, but I also had the same question. I want to rank some videos and websites for car rental. Should I create my tier 1 around traveling or something else? I want to rank for a particular country. Should I also talk about that country specifically or leave it generic? Those are good questions, Dion. Dion, I would say for the car rental, traveling would be good. Probably anything about automotive would be good as well if you're talking specifically about cars. I think both of those would probably work well. What do you think, Hernan?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Yeah, I think probably car rental. Yeah, travel would do. I think because the main idea here is to keep them as closely themed as possible. You know, sometimes you won't find the exact niche of yours. You can also go with business, you know, something more generic, or home base, or even web services, you know, those kind of things. But yeah, I would stick to travel, as you're saying. Right.
And even just like automotive. I think general automotive
yeah,
theme would be fine too as well. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's interesting about that is you're talking about car rental. You know, you could also you could multi-purpose that network or that channel, for example, to hit up a couple other things too, like limousine rental would be another good one. Exotic car rental, if you have cities or areas that would you know, where that's available, that would be another one. So you could actually purpose that channel for a couple different themes within that general theme. What I mean by that is, you know, you have car rental, which could, you know, you could have traveling, automotive stuff, limousine rental, and exotic car rental. I mean, those are just some things that you could do to kind of get more mileage, so to speak, out of that network. That makes sense.
And the
Yeah,
other thing we
and
want to
those.
do with this, go ahead, Hernan.
And those will give you, yeah, as you were saying, Bradley, we have some networks that we were using for some multi-purpose niche, and basically the way we're doing is to find the most related topics around the niches, you know, the contact points over those niches, and make the networks around or based on those. So you can get more bang for your bucks, because it's, you know, it's an investment to grow a network or to grow an IFTTT network if you're buying it and then building it up. So make it general, but not so general. You know, not the anything goes networks don't tend to work as well right now. But if you go theme related, it will be fine on my end.
Yeah, and if you're, all I was going to add to that is if you're going into this and looking at ways to monetize it, if you're looking at car rental, then my guess is you're dealing with travelers, most likely. I would say that's 99% of the case. And then there's a ton of affiliate opportunities for that, as well as different ways to monetize that. So you'd want to think about that before you maybe start building it up.
Yeah. And that I mean, that's where you could also, you know, create a channel and then use playlists to kind of silo it out, just like you would a website. And so again, that goes back to what we talk about with using playlists as silos, because then you can make the channel more broad, but still niche it down or theme it by using playlists, if that makes sense. Okay. So with that said, when you say I want to rank for a particular country, should I talk about the country specifically or leave it generic? You know, I try to theme things in a general region or an area. So. And that question's been coming up a lot recently, and I'm sure it's on this page as well. So we'll probably be talking about that again, to address that more specifically in a moment. But like, for example, I you know, everything that I do mainly is in the U.S. So everything is the personas have a U.S. address. But for example, if I'm doing a city-specific network, which again I don't recommend that, but if you wanted to do that, then you certainly could. Then somebody asked in the Facebook group, and again I think it's on this page, but somebody asked in the Facebook group about if they want to target local businesses in a particular city, should they, you know, how do they theme the networks? Well, the only thing you need to do at that point is just make sure that all of your networks, your persona networks included, have the basic theme that they all are in the same location. So in other words, when you build that out, that you would want to make sure that each persona like has a, you know, an address in quotes in that city. They basically live in that city, and that's all you really need. If you're doing a location specific network, you don't have to be industry specific. You just need to be location specific, and that's the only way. That's really all you have to do to theme it. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully that makes sense. All I would do is just make sure you know that each one of the persona networks that you have. So like if you have a full 2-tier network, you'd have your tier 1 network, which would be themed around your particular city and services, right? And then you would have your tier 2 networks, which I would just have them themed, basically have the, you know, a mention that they live in the same country. That makes sense. Okay. Estelle says, where do you buy or rent high authority links from? I found it difficult and tedious to find reliable ones. Yeah, I use safe links, which are Russian hack links mainly. I'm not going to hide it. I mean, they work, okay? They work really, really well. You just got to be really careful. I wouldn't point them directly to your money site. That's what I do. Hernan, do you have any other sources besides safe that you use for high authority links?
Yeah, I made a video for the community the other day on how to get good expired domains on dumbcop.com. That also applies to registercompass.com or expireddomain.net. The first two being premium, and the last one being free. What I do basically is to find expired domains that hasn't been, you know, penalized by Google, and with good metrics. You know, I'm using TrustFlow a lot to determine that. That is like my main metric right now, TrustFlow, and then moving on to citation flow and domain authority, and Google indexing those. Even if we are, you know, testing PBNs with no index, etc. But those are my main metrics, and I just grab them from expireddomains.net or dumpcop.com, which is really cheap. I think it's $10 a month or something like that, and it has some really nice filters. And yeah, I also treat my Web 2.0s as PBNs. You know, you can make them really, really powerful.
Yeah.
Bradley was saying, you know, with SAFe, you can point SAFe to your Web 2.0s, making them really, really powerful, and you can treat those as PBNs as well. So those are my sources at the moment.
Yeah, and Estelle, I know she was asking specifically about you know, buying like links from like you know, already, so she doesn't have to build PBNs and stuff. She wants to be able to just rent links essentially. Something else, Estelle, check out a good press release service. You can get some good authority links from press releases if you do them right. Okay, so that's one thing that you could do. You know, and you don't want to overdo it with that. Just like anything, you don't want to overdo it with any one particular type of backlink. But press releases are a good way to get authority links. Like Hernan said, you can. I use SAFe links just because they're easy. They're so damn easy to get set up. You just pay somebody some money and they point links at whatever you tell them to. But I use buffers, or I use 301 redirects, which we can't really talk about that here, other than that's what we do. 301 redirects, but also like Hernan said, you know, most of my PBN stuff now are really Web 2 networks. Like I still have a large PBN network, but the majority, probably two-thirds of my PBN network is used as second-tier links only. I very rarely use PBNs direct to money site unless they're really well themed and they have really good metrics, because I think it ends up being more of a potential of causing harm than doing good, even for short-term gains. You know what I mean? So.
And also, if you are renting links, you know, you can go to Wikidfire, Traffic Planet, Black Hat War, you name it. You need to be very careful with that, as having in mind the exposure that the network may have. You know, you find those, I don't know, 400 PBN runs for $4 or something like that. Those are usually fightback networks, if you haven't heard about it. But the main point here is that the more exposed the network is, the more threat it is to your site. Okay, so if you're doubtful about it, just make sure you use a buffer or a 301, so in case anything goes wrong, you can just you know, pull the plug on those 301s and you're fine.
That's right. And then, like, lastly, to finish that part up, you know, again with the Web 2s, one thing you can do is really build the page authority up and the trust signals and everything on the Web 2 itself, and to make those very, very powerful. And I like to do that. Now, there is some inherent risk in that as well, because the Web 2 could get terminated and then you'd lose your work. But typically, if you're doing you know, a good job with the Web 2 and treating it well, it should end up lasting for quite some time. And aged Web 2 with good page authorities can be incredibly powerful. So. Okay, so she says, I need to rank a new client's website. He already has a separate blog, so I'll be using the RSS feed of his blog to help rank his money website. That's a question, okay? So will I be using, I guess, the RSS feed of his blog to help rank his money website? Would it be more efficient if he merged the money site and the blog? Yeah, I mean, if it's not on the same domain, what I would do is, it depends. If it's an off-site blog, an off-domain blog, so it's hosted on a separate domain, is maybe clone the blog. What's ranking higher, right? What's more important, the money site or the blog? So if the money site is the end goal, right, that's where you want to drive the traffic to, then and you have a blog on an off, like another domain, right? So it's not on the same domain. Then I would consider cloning the blog and installing it on a subdomain of the money site. Right. That way you can still keep the two separate, but you can use your the blog on the subdomain as the content distribution engine. And you know, that happens a lot with like e-commerce sites, for example, because e-commerce sites aren't really like, you know, like blogs, so they're not really set up to distribute content, especially the way that we teach, right? So putting a blog on a subdomain is a good way to do that, because then you can have just a regular WordPress install that you can treat as a blog and use that as your content distribution engine, and all the metrics that you build from distributing content from there will benefit the domain and therefore benefit the root domain, which is where your money site resides.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
yeah, that's exactly. Sorry, Bradley. That's exactly what I did with a client of mine that it's happens to be an e-commerce site, and they had a WordPress.com blog. So they have the brand.wordpress.com, and I just redirect that WordPress.com to the blog.thedomain.com, you know, and build the entire syndication network over there. And he's noticing like really good rankings from that because of the domain authority. And also now we are using the WordPress.com that was, you know, their former blog. We are using it as part of the IFTTT network. So you have more control on the. I told them, okay, so we will have more control with a self-hosted WordPress, and they love it.
Yep. Yeah, and I agree. I mean, that's what several clients that I've dealt with have not, you know, they haven't had WordPress sites, or they had sites that were like too far gone. In other words, they weren't optimized properly or siloed properly, but they didn't want to pay. You know, when you have a site, especially like any site for that matter, but like an older WordPress site that has a lot of content on it, and it's not siloed properly to begin with, it's difficult to go in and update all that. So it requires a large expense. And there's a lot of clients that don't want to eat that expense. They don't want to pay for that. So instead of me trying to work with something that's just a dog, that's just going to be too hard to rank, then that's when I'll say, okay, here's the alternative. I'll install a WordPress blog on a subdomain of your main domain so that I can set it up, properly optimize it, properly connect it to a distribution network. So in other words, an IFTTT network, and then use that where it'll be clean, it'll be set up properly, and that'll be what I'll use to distribute content and rank your site. And that makes it just a hell of a lot easier. It makes it more cost effective for them. It's a lot less work for me, and it ends up working out really well. So it's a good idea to do that. Scott says, if we add videos to our channel that may not be a good match for our silos that we don't place into a playlist, do you think that dilutes the channel SEO, or should we create a miscellaneous playlist? Yeah, that's what I would do, Scott. You answered your own question. I would definitely create a miscellaneous playlist than just having some random videos on there, because at least then they're categorized in a miscellaneous playlist. Personally, that's what I would do. Okay. Ite says, I want to apologize in advance as I am almost sure these questions have been asked before. By the way, guys, we're working on a FAQ system right now. We took on one of our longtime mastermind members, Michael Bose, is now our new support tech. He's helping out part-time with support issues and stuff like that. So he's going to be developing FAQs from these Hump Day Hangouts so that we can quickly fire off a link to an answer to people's questions going forward. So just to let you guys know, pretty soon you're going to start getting YouTube URL responses when you ask questions that have been answered. So it'll make our job a hell of a lot easier, and it'll get to the point. So, okay, how do I brand my Tier 2 personas for a Tier 1 revolving around, yeah, this is the question I was talking about earlier, revolving around local businesses. For instance, I plan on promoting plumbers, roofers, electricians, and any other local businesses in different niches as I see fit in the future. How do you recommend the Tier 2 personas be branded? Yeah, this question has been answered dozens of times. I would like to order the full Tier 2 from you, but I got stuck on the branding question. Okay, so your Tier 1 revolving around local businesses, again, we talked about this just a minute ago, but if you're going to theme that around a particular city, for example, then that's the only thing you got to really theme it about. Is say, like, let's just use Atlanta, Georgia. You could say like Atlanta videos, or Atlanta businesses, or Atlanta business videos, or Atlanta publicity, or Atlanta publicity pros. You could theme it any way you want as far as the branding. You can give it any kind of brand name you want, but the common denominator of everything on that channel, or essentially that Tier 1 network, would be based on Atlanta-based businesses. So that's the common denominator of all of them. For Tier 2, however, that's where you can just be more general. And since you're talking about contractors, and you said plumbers, roofers, and electricians, so it must be contractors. I would just theme those as like home improvement type blogs, right? Construction blogs, home improvement blogs, handyman or handywoman for that matter, some sort of blog. Just the personas, each persona would have its main interest in one of those areas, right? And I don't mean like have a plumber network electrician network. You could do that. You could be more specific, but then you'd be much more narrow in what you could use that network for. Home improvement on tier 2 is plenty broad enough to be able to cover all of those, and it would make sense. So it's still a themed network, which means it's going to be more powerful. Okay. Assuming I am a newbie, which I am, would Semantic Master course be for me? Will it shine some light on the nuts and bolts of building my network power? What is included in the course? More trainings or just a smaller group with more intimate assistance? Okay, great question, Ite. And in fact, that's a question that I just got asked by Jamie today at lunch. And I would suggest that right now you hold off. Not that I certainly wouldn't like to have you join the mastermind, and not that we're not trying to, take your money, because we certainly would. But to be 100% candid with you, it's advanced SEO training. And so the mastermind, I would not suggest being a newbie that you get into there, because it would probably cause more confusion than it would help. I would suggest sticking with the MasterClass for the time being, and once you've gone through another month of that, or several more weeks of that, and you've gotten a lot of the training that we're going to teach throughout that course, then you can graduate to the mastermind. The mastermind does include the MasterClass and all of our products that we release in our our lower end products. All of those are included for free as part of the mastermind. So that's a great question. You guys, if there's any products that we release that are going to be high ticket products, you guys, the mastermind members get a significant discount on those as well. And then again, all of our lesser, like monthly membership programs and things like that, those are all included in the mastermind. However, again, it's advanced SEO training. I would not recommend going into that until you have built a strong foundation in SEO, and that's what MasterClass is for, right? It's not just SEO training, it's SEO and business training that will give you that foundation that you should have prior to joining the mastermind. And the reason I say that is because we have a lot of people that are quite advanced in the group, and we also have some people that have come in that didn't have the foundation yet, and it's okay, but it slows down the rest of the group. You know what I mean? And so I would recommend that you just stick with the MasterClass for the time being, and when you feel like you've got a better understanding, then you can graduate to that. And we encourage that, by the way. That's the whole point of MasterClass, guys. We set that up because we want you to join the mastermind, but we want to give you the foundation first and make sure you're profitable in your business before you invest in that as well. Okay?
Yep. And also, Mastermind is also kind of a business experience, not only SEO, So it's kind of also growing your SEO business, and you need to have one at least making something per month, making some income per month, so that the mastermind will really help you to increase that and to leverage that. And that's the progression that we designed it, as Bradley was saying. Once you get into the masterclass and you graduate from the masterclass, we expect that you graduate profitable from the masterclass, and then you can join the mastermind and share the niche secrets that we share over there.
That's right. And again, I think it would just it may confuse you more than it would help you at this point. So it's better to go ahead and start making money first. Apply what we're teaching you in the masterclass and begins to make money, and as your business grows and your revenue grows, then come join us and take on some of the more advanced stuff, which will help you to grow even more and make your job easier as well. So what is in, let's see, and yeah, there's part of the thing of us bringing it. He said we're just a smaller group with more intimate assistance. Yeah, we're trying to get to be to where we're spending most of our time with our mastermind members, as opposed to like in the Facebook group and stuff. And that's part of the reason why we brought Michael on this week, to help with support issues and stuff, to alleviate us from having to answer questions in those groups and spend more time with our mastermind members, because they're our elite crew. So. Also, can you lightly explain social stacking? It's called IFTTT Academy, SEO Academy. Social stacking, that's what we do. I mean, that's essentially what we do with all of the network properties that we create, and we interlink them properly. That's stacking authority, that's stacking semantic relationships as well. That's part of the reason we do that and theme our networks the way we do, and it makes them so much more powerful. So that's just, it's taking multiple properties, and it's a fancy term for it, stacking, and it's very catchy, and it works well to describe what it is that we're doing, which is essentially you're taking one property with high domain authority, a lot of authority, a lot of popularity. You combine it with another one, so you're multiplying the effect, right? And you do that again and again and again, and you can increase the power of it exponentially, and that's essentially what we do. So you've already got the training for that, I take, if that makes sense. Do you have any input on the best practices to rank in Google 7-pack other than citations, Google Plus page, and reviews? Yeah, you still need good good on-page factors. That's a huge part of it now. Also, good backlink profile, good social signals. I mean, there's still a lot of traditional SEO stuff in there. Having everything interlinked properly, having a wide net cast across the web, which IFTTT networks will do for you, will help to rank in there as well. Okay. Some structured data. By the way, guys, we're going to talk about structured data today on MasterCLASS, which is essentially semantic markup. We're going to talk about that briefly today. We're not going to get into it too deep because that's not what MasterCLASS is for, but we are going to introduce that to you and give you some resources to learn more about that and why we use it as well. And structured data will help you to rank in local 7-pack as well. I am aware that live videos are better to rank, or a little better to rank. Can you please elaborate on how to produce one of these live videos? Can I create a Google Hangout without any attendees and then upload to that to YouTube? Do Google Hangouts publish automatically, or do I have the opportunity to save the video so I can just submit it to YouTube? Do you cover step-by-step more in depth in the MasterClass? Yes, we covered that last week in MasterClass, actually. So week 3 of MasterClass was last week, and that was covered specifically, okay, on how to do that and why we do that and how to optimize the videos. A Google Hangout on air, you can't optimize ahead of time other than your title. You can optimize after the broadcast is done, which is fine, but I found a little bit more of a boost using YouTube live events. And YouTube live events you can optimize ahead of time just like a YouTube video, and it ranks better in my opinion. And yes, we covered that in the MasterClass week 3. Okay, that was last week. Do you have any tutorials on how to accomplish live videos via Google or YouTube? Yeah, I do, and also, again, in the MasterClass, and also in the Facebook group, I'd say, do a search on Jeff Gunn, G-U-Y-N-N. He posted how to use Wirecast and a video for how to use Wirecast in the Facebook group, and that'll show you how to live stream through YouTube Live events. All right. So the training is already in the Facebook group. It's free training that you can find yourself on YouTube, but Jeff was kind enough to put it together in one post. So again, search for Jeff Gunn, G-U-Y-N-N, and you'll find the post concerning that. I'm going to give him credit because he did a good job. Does the MasterClass dive into these type of issues? Yes, it does. I just purchased YouTube Silo Academy. Yes or no answers work, as I know you want to keep the YouTube silo under wraps. Without giving anything away, I just want to know, can the seed word be as broad as one word? Perhaps a city name or a profession? Would that be too broad? I mean, it could be. I think that would be too broad, though, I'd say. I would go a little bit more long tail than that. One-term words are like damn near impossible to rank for. I mean, if it makes sense to, then do it. If it's just the playlist title, then all your long tails within the playlist are going to support it. But I would go a little bit more narrow than that. Okay. We're at 427 already, so I got to roll through some of these. That was very in depth. I don't mind those, but wow. Okay, Daryl says, I sort of touched on this in the Facebook group last week right after I joined, but thought it would be beneficial to bring it up again so the whole world could listen, I guess, to my perspective. If you were going to create a PBN site and put the blog schedule on complete autopilot, what content solutions would you consider and why? Or would you suggest a manual process? Okay, answer your first question. I suggest a manual process. But let me elaborate here. Let me dig into this one a little bit more, okay? I don't recommend any PBNs that are going to be tier 1 links pointing directly to your money site come from automated sources. Okay, let me repeat that. I do not recommend any PBNs that are tier 1 links, which means they link directly to your money site, to be from automated content of any sort. So the PBNs that I do use, about a third of my network are PBNs that link directly to money sites, and those are manually curated by outsourcers. In other words, they go out and create posts manually using other people's content. They just curate content to create a post about a specific topic. And they're using other people's content, preferably content that is, has a lot of social engagement, so a lot of social activity and everything that increases trust again. And they curate content together and then create a post and post it to the PBNs with the link pointing back to the money site. But for PBNs that are going to be tier 2 links, then yeah, you can completely automate that. So we'll get into automating that on the next part of the question, I'm sure. Options, I'm thinking could make sense, include Kontent Machine, ArticleBuilder, Content Amigo, WP Robot, and RSS feeds. Perhaps you have a preferred tool or method is all I am asking, so no need to discuss every possible option. The way I see it, we've got links automated thanks to IFTTT, which is one side of the coin, so why not automate the whole entire process, or at least minimize time and effort wasted on PBN content? Totally agree with that, Daryl. Again, if it's tier 2 PBNs, then I second or completely support automating that. And there's a few things that we've used, like I have, there's some Peter Garrity products that we've used that do that. WP RSS Magnet is one of them. There are some, I know, Adam, you've used some other tools. Which ones are those?
Yeah, the WP RSS Magnet, I use that. That's a good one. Takes a little while to set up. Man, so maybe we could put together something. Anyways, we got that. What else? Curation Suite. I really like. I know one of our members had some issues with it, but I think he got it worked out. I used that on several sites, and I would recommend that if you're going to have outsourcers be doing work, and that way they can really tear through some content. I mean, no joke, you can get a well-curated article out the door in less than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And to chime in here, guys, we do curated manual content on tier 1, but it doesn't mean that you cannot have some part of it, you know, to infuse life in your PBNs. And I think I made a blog post on that on semanticmastery.com and about how to infuse life on your PBNs on autopilot. You know, that would include, I think, it's Hungry Feed, which is a really cool plugin that will, you know, you'll add a shortcode on some part of the on a sticky post on the homepage, and it will automatically fetch feeds for you. And you can also add YouTube feeds, which we know Google love, and that's for starters. So you have some manual content, some curated content on the PBN, and then you have some automated content. But that automated content is not for, you know, syndicating out to IFTTT. Is for, you know, infusing live to the PBN so that it gets crawled frequently and it's impacting positively on the metrics of the domain. And also for tier 2, we use basically, I use basically IFTTT, you know, with a WordPress recipe that will work for a self-hosted domain, or a plugin called Feed WordPress, I think, which will basically do the same. I've noticed that Feed WordPress, WordPress Robot, all of those are pretty heavy on the server, you know, resource heavy, because they are executing cron jobs and whatnot and pulling stuff. And so IFTTT is a good third-party tool that will not impact on your server.
That's right. That's right. And then also there's, you know, some of the other. One of the members of the mastermind, he actually found a really cool plugin called WP Pipes. And he was talking about, he did it and we can't reveal too much because without his permission, but you can go check it out. It's a free plugin called WP Pipes, but he found some pretty ninja ways to import some content using that on an automated fashion. So again, I use for manually curated content, which is what I do for any tier 1 PBNs. I have outsourcers that I've trained that they just use a combination of things. Some of them use WP RSS Curator, which is another Peter Garrity plugin. It's an on-page plugin as opposed to an off-site plugin, which would be like the WP RSS Magnet. We use that a lot, but there's also, you can do it manually still very quickly if you set up like Feedly or some sort of feed reader where you can curate a bunch of RSS feeds together of related content, and then they can just go scan the headlines every day or every day that they're supposed to post, find a headline that stands out, and then find a couple related articles on the same Feedly dashboard, and just copy snippets and paste. There's also things like Kudani. There's some other curation type softwares. I've tested about every one of them, and to be honest with you, all of my outsourcers either do it manually curated with just Feedly, using just a feed reader and copying and pasting, or they use WP RSS Curator, which is a Peter Garrity plugin for on-page curation.
Yeah,
So,
there's a lot of people out there who are listening right now. If you're really interested in this, let us know, because this is a really time-consuming process, and if you're trying to maintain several sites, then this can really impact you. So if it's something a lot of people are interested in, we can put something together. It definitely end up being a product, because this would take a lot of time. But
yeah, and one of our members, our mastermind members, Dietrich, he's actually been riding me for the last 2 weeks to get him some information for training outsourcers on how to curate, so that they, you know, we've got our outsourcer training portal. That's something that I developed that was not really planned on being shared with the outsourcer training portal because it was just in-house for my local client consulting business. Like I developed it internally to train my own outsourcers, but apparently that's pretty popular. So, or it's requested now several times. So will be also creating a Trello board for that and adding that to the outsourcer training portal. It's not going to be anytime in the next couple weeks, though, I can tell you that, because there's a lot of training involved with that. So I've got to get everything moved over and formatted properly to share. Right now it's got a lot of internal stuff in it. So, but anyways, just so you know, that's something that we may end up doing and creating a separate product on that if there's enough demand for it. It sounds like there may be. All right, Daryl, I got a little one here that we're probably going to gloss over because this is going to be way more than we can actually address here on this, and we got to keep moving. But he says, also, can you touch on best on-page practices for maximizing PA and DA, IA, funneling, link juice, siloing, interlinking, etc., as it pertains to increasing the power of a PBN site? Yeah, just follow the same type of practice that you would for a money site. If you're going to be siloing PBNs, which you should, if you want to get the most bang for your buck, then just follow the same type of practices that you would for a money site. So just silo them properly, keep your themes tight. What I mean by that is each silo is a specific theme, right? It's a keyword set. You want to keep that tight enough, and you don't want to bleed your theme from one silo to another. So make sure all your internal linking is done properly. Okay, so just make sure that if you're going to link from one silo to another, just use no-follow links. So that way you're keeping your theme tight. You don't bleed it. That sort of thing. But there's a lot of things that's a pretty in-depth topic on page and siloing and everything that we really can't cover here. But I would just suggest that you keep the same type of practices. Okay. Brian says, so if you have several blogs on your money site, I'm curious what that means. And then you set up an RSS feed network with IFTTT. Will those 2 to 3 blogs that have been sitting on your money site? Oh, you mean blog posts. Okay, so if you have several blog posts on your money site and then you set up an RSS feed network with IFTTT, will those 2 to 3 blog posts that have been sitting on your money site get pushed into the IFTTT network? No, not unless you change the publishing date. And that's a question that's come up every week for the last several weeks now. So, Michael, I don't know if Michael's on here, but that, Adam, if you can timestamp that, we're going to have to add that to the FAQs as well, because that keeps coming up, and we'll just cut a short video on that. I know where you are. The RSS plugin that we give away free, guys, with the IFTTT training, we're actually developing that as part of the plugin, which will reinsert posts back into the feed, so that it will auto-publish old posts on a schedule that we can set. So that's something that's coming, but that's in development, so I don't know when that's going to be available yet. Chris, our developer, he's not on with us, so I'm not 100% sure when that's going to be available.
Yeah, I think it was pretty advanced. I mean, on the development stage, because we've been talking a little bit last week about it, and I think it should be out soon.
Yeah.
Like in the next 10 days or something. So we'll keep you guys posted.
Yeah, it may be. I know we were talking about that on Tuesday or yesterday when we had our company meeting. That it's being worked on. So how do you get them to syndicate? He asked. Well, what you can do is if it's already published, go to your editor screen, right? And on the right-hand side, you'll see where it'll say published. It'll be an update button if you're going to make any changes. We'll just go in and set the publishing date to in the future. So, for example, what I've done in the past is I'll look at as long as your server time is synced with your local time, then you could say, okay, set the publishing date for the same day as today, but set it for like 3 minutes ahead of what time it is currently. And then hit update. And when you hit update, you'll see that it will switch to unpublished, and it'll say scheduled. And then just wait 3 minutes, and then refresh the screen, and it should show as published, and it will have reinserted into your feed at that time. Okay? And also, I think someone was telling me the Backlink Commando, which I kind of pitched last week a little bit. I was really sharing it with you guys. It was not really much of it was more of a soft pitch. But apparently that will do the same thing. I was unaware of that, but apparently it might do that as well. I haven't confirmed that, though. Let's see. How do you get to syndicate or... Okay, and that's one thing that you can do. Another thing that you can do is just, publish the post. Publish the post on another blog, like for example, your Blogger site and you can hard code an IFTTT recipe to put the attribution link back to the original source, anyways, which would be your main money site. That's another way to do it. Sergi says, what rank tracking software would you recommend? Okay, that's another good question. Personally, for just tracking websites and client sites and stuff, I use InSpider Rank Reporter. InSpider Rank Reporter. It's a desktop application, but you need proxies for it to run well. So that's, you're still going to have a monthly expense because you need proxies. I love that software though. It's very effective, and I can track unlimited keywords based on, as long as I have the proxies to support the searches that I'm tracking, right? Because that's what, essentially, if you don't have proxies, you'll get IP blocks from Google because it's going to make too many search queries or search requests. So just know that. And we have, Adam, I don't know if you can grab it very quickly, but we have a link for that.
It's already up there.
Okay, cool, sweet, wow, quick on the draw.
Yeah, I'm watching two screens.
For an online application, because I know a lot of them can get very expensive, but one of my favorites, because it will track YouTube videos as well, is Rank Tracker, ProRankTracker.com. I think that's, let's see, it's ProRankTracker.com. I've talked about this many times. Again, this should probably be an FAQ too, guys, because this is one that I use for tracking YouTube videos, which is really cool, and it's rather inexpensive compared to a lot of the other online ones. Okay, so this is a good one as well.
Yeah, it will also send you some nice, some nice reports every day. I have several sites hooked up over there, and it will rank YouTube videos inside YouTube and inside Google. So in case you're interested in ranking in YouTube, which is #2 search engine in the world, in case you're interested into that, and you can set up local results and global results, those kind of things. So I think it's really neat.
Okay. Ken says he recommended in the advanced strategy section of the IFTTT class to use 3 other sources to post via RSS to the persona networks along with their branded content. Since some blogs and YouTube channels post several times daily, is there a certain frequency of posting threshold we should look to stay below to keep our network sites safe when we consider these additional content sources? Yeah, that's what I'll typically look for, content sources that don't publish too many times per day. But if you need to filter them out, you can. Just go use something like Yahoo Pipes. You can take, again, in the Advanced RSS training, the Advanced RSS Academy training, we introduced you to Yahoo Pipes, but you can get in there and play around, and you can also go to YouTube and look up Yahoo Pipes tutorials and get a lot of different trainings for that that will show you how to set up filters. You can set up keyword filters or publishing date filters. There's all different kinds of filters you can set with Yahoo Pipes so that you can take a really active feed and filter out only, and so that on the output side of the feed, all you're getting is what you allow pass based on the rules of the filters. So essentially, you set up a filter and you set rules, and it will only allow content to pass that meets that criteria that you set. And so that's one way where you can take like a very broad or general type RSS feed and filter out keywords to where it will only pass posts that have keywords either in the title or the content body, depending on how you set up the rules. And that way you can get a more targeted feed out of something that's more general, and you can also limit your posting schedule that way as well, your posting frequency. Okay, so check out Yahoo Pipes, and again, just go to YouTube and look for Yahoo Pipes tutorials. You can probably get every question you need answered there. Ken Roberts, this is a good one. I just was reading this a moment ago. Can you please explain the trigger for connecting the Tier 2 networks? I've watched the webinar 3 times now and still have a hard time getting my head around connecting the networks. I wish there were some videos in the members area giving actual examples. Well, there are. I mean, there are, because in the advanced strategy webinars. But let's go take a look at this real quick, and I'll explain this very quickly. It shouldn't be difficult to wrap your head around at all, in my opinion. And I'm not picking on you, Ken. But what I'm saying is look, your trigger for Tier 2A is going to be your Blogger RSS feed. You use the RSS recipes. That's why there are no other recipes given in the worksheet other than video recipes and RSS recipes. That's all you need. You need one of two different recipe types to make this work. So for Tier 2, all of your Tier 2 network properties are triggered by the RSS recipe, which would just be the Blogger RSS feed, right? So you just use the RSS recipes, but you use the Blogger RSS feed as the trigger, okay, as the feed that triggers it. Okay, same thing Tumblr. Tumblr is you just use the Tumblr RSS feed to trigger the Tier 2 network. WordPress, you use the WordPress RSS feed to trigger the network. Now, if you're going to add additional content sources in, which is what we were just talking about with Ken in the last question, or I'm sorry, Kendall, right? I'm sorry, it is Ken. It's Ken and Ken. That's what just screwed me up. So what we were just talking about with Ken Backus in the last question is if you're going to add additional content into these content sources here, then you just create additional RSS recipes, right? Additional trigger recipes. So let's say that you're going to have a total of 4 content sources to feed Blogger, to feed your tier 2A network, right? Then your primary recipe is going to be the RSS recipe to trigger each one of these, with Blogger RSS feed as being the RSS that you use in the RSS recipe. Does that make sense? Then your other 3 content sources, which could be 2 other blogs and a YouTube channel, you're just going to set up a separate RSS recipe using the ones that are already in the spreadsheet to trigger these again. So you only have one. You have however many content sources is how many trigger recipes you're going to set up. Then the rest of the setup is the exact same as what it was for tier 1, right? So the rest of your recipes are still going to be RSS2, so like RSS to Twitter, RSS to G+ via Buffer, RSS to Delicious, but they're going to be using the Blogger RSS feed to feed all of those, right? So it's the only difference would be is, if you're adding an additional content sources, you're going to set up an additional trigger, which would be RSS to Blogger. Does that make sense? I hope that's making sense. Was that confusing to you, Adam or Hernan? I know you guys know the system, but if it was, then I need to try to clarify that a little bit.
No, that's fine. As long as you have them, that's why you need to be organized when making the networks. You need to have all of the RSS feeds in one place so that you can grab them and not only submit them into RSS directories, but also to use them as new triggers for new networks. That's basically it.
Yeah, I can't say that enough. It seems like it's slowing you down, but oh man, that causes so much pain if you try to skip a step up front.
Yeah.
So this would be RSS to Blogger, right? Was going to be your main feed. Okay, so like this is going to be your main trigger recipe, and you're taking the RSS feed from your main money site and feeding your Blogger, right? So this is going to be essentially, I could say this, like, and I know this question is going to take a little longer than what I had planned, but I think this is important because I know some other people have asked that again too. So this could be like another brief video that we make out of this right now for FAQs. But money RSS to Blogger is going to be your primary feed for your tier 2 network, right? Then all of your additional network recipes are just going to be RSS to, let's just say like Bitly for example, but this will be Blogger RSS to, right? So all you're doing at this point is you're now using the Blogger RSS feed to feed the rest of the recipes. So this would be like RSS to Delicious, right? And let's see, this is going to be Blogger again. All right, so you guys get the point, right? That's all it is that your main. So this is your main content. This is what I call a trigger recipe because this is what you're feeding the network with. Then your secondary recipes are going to be fed from your Blogger RSS feed, right? Because you're feeding content to your Blogger from the money site. Then the Blogger is going to publish a post every time your money site publishes, right? And then so you take your Blogger RSS feed and you use that to push content to the rest of your network, all right? And then if you're going to inject additional, that's a client calling. I'm sorry, it's probably going to keep ringing. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Then for your additional content sources, you could say content source 1, 2, and whoops, let me spell that right. Content source 1 RSS to Blogger, right? That's going to be adding one content source in. Then your second content source would be same thing, content source 2 RSS to Blogger. And you do the same thing for the remaining, oops, damn it, I can never talk and type. You do the same thing for the remaining content sources, which would just be one more, right? So these are your this is what I call trigger recipes here, and these are what I call action recipes, right? So that's how you do it, all right? Because remember, the Blogger RSS feed, you only have to set up the action recipes one time for the entire network. Because then it's going to be Blogger RSS to Bitly, Blogger RSS to Delicious, Blogger RSS to Google Plus via Buffer. Or, every one of those, once you set them up one time, that's all you have to do. Then you just have to create your trigger recipes, which the primary one's going to be from your money site. Then any secondary content sources that you want to add, you're going to have to add a separate trigger source for each one of those, right? A separate trigger recipe. I hope that makes sense. We got to move because we're at 4:48, so. Sergi, I want to make a video testimonial for IFTTT SEO Academy. Do you want it? Yes, Sergi. We absolutely want it. Please do. And just
yeah, just
forward
ask him to send it in. Gave him the email address so he can get a hold of us.
Yep. I see that there are 3 different YouTube to OneNote recipes in the spreadsheet. There are. I'm curious as to why there would be 3 of those. Let's see. I'm curious. Somebody have that link handy? I would like to check on that. There's, as far as I know, there should only be 2, Ken. So maybe it's a typo. So I'll look at that and get back with you. Is buying 301 redirects links advisable? Is buying 301 redirect links advisable? Where do you buy 301 redirects? I'm curious about that. We do a ton of 301 redirects. That's how I do most of my SEO. But
probably he refers to 301 domains or domains that you will 301 later, but we may need a clarification of that.
Yeah, David.
If you guys want to clarify what it is you do, or if that's something we want to talk about, I think this may just be a mistaken understanding of exactly what's going on here.
Yeah, we use a lot of 301s for SEO. I know that, but I'm not sure what you mean by buying 301 redirects links. So I'm not sure. I don't really follow that. Ken says, again, I'm in reference to Backlink Commando. I just have a dummy site set up for the purpose of using Backlink Commando. Are the SERPs actually hitting the custom RSS feed for this dummy site? Well, no, not if you. I think there's an option to turn that off.
Yeah, you can set that dummy site to no index. That's
right.
What I would do, and then you can set the plugin not to output another RSS. But if you're doing no index, sorry, Bradley, if you're doing no index, they shouldn't index it anyways. That's for another, another way that you can send those links to RSS directories or build links to that RSS feed that the Backlink Commando plugin is doing it. But there's no need for that if you don't want to use it.
Yeah, I think there's a setting in the Backlinks Commando options to turn that off, number 1. And number 2, like Hernan said, if you're just using a dummy site just for the purpose of running that plugin, just go into Settings, Reading, and set the site to no index. Okay, and then you could also set it in the robots.txt file if you'd like. Okay. Regarding PBNs, David says, regarding PBN networks, I saw a comment that you said that you have to be careful when finding hosting if there are other SEO guys on that host. Yeah, I mean, I do. Like if it's an SEO host and they're describing C-class IPs, like that's the traditional SEO hosts. I'd stay away from them because they're targets. They've got big, huge targets on their back. If you're going to use PBN building, I would use Class A or Class B because it's a lot less likely to get hit just because of its IP block. Does that make sense? You got to be real careful. What used to, 4 or 5 years ago, C-class IPs was the rave. That's all you needed. But now it's been several years that's been used and abused. So now it's a huge target, and it's easy for Google to go in and basically de-index a C block of IPs. Like just basically say, okay, all of these are no longer valid, and punish it. Okay, so it's very easy for SEO hosts to get hit on, especially on just C class only. If you go to A and B and you got your name servers hidden properly and you're real careful about your footprints and everything else, and certain like again, No Name Internet. NoNameInternet.com, and actually Andreas, he put out a couple other hosting companies recently that all do the similar things. They're one of the best in the business. If you guys want to learn or use a good host, go to NoNameInternet.com. And also, Hernan, what was the other names of the new ones he created recently?
I think it's Microhost or Microhost, something like that. It's MICRI, host.com.
Yeah, and like I said, he knows what he's doing. So he's got use those guys. They're one of the best in the business. So, all right, we got to probably do 2 more questions, guys, and we got to wrap it up. Hi, my first branded network is themed around my city. The Tier 2 persona networks are people with various general professions, marketing, assistant, oral surgeon, real estate, from the main city or surrounding cities. What content should I be splicing, blending to syndicate to these Tier 2 networks? Should I be looking for chamber, local news, business journal feeds related to the main city? Yeah, again, Ken, you answered your own question. You're spot on, man. Trust your instincts on that because that's exactly what you should be doing. I like to use local content news sources for my location-specific networks. I like to use those. and really any type of news at that matter, because again, as long as it's centered around that particular location, that's good enough. My concern is that if I syndicate feeds related to their profession, then the effect of these individual T2 networks would be watered down for the videos posted that are outside the profession. Don't worry about it. If you're doing it around, like again, if you're theming your network for a particular location, then location-specific posts would be fine. Okay. Again, you're going to have better results with niche-specific or niche-themed networks, but don't let that stop you. You can still do very well with locations themed. Just use playlists within your tier 1, your silo playlists and everything on your channel, or if you're using a website, silo your website properly, and you'll still be okay. All right. I know you suggested best practice would be to create networks around a specific niche. Yes, my plan was to start locally ranking multiple niches to grow a budget that allows me to build specialized networks and prospect abroad. Yeah, again, that's fine, Ken. You can do that. However, again, it's easier to scale if you go after a particular niche, because you don't have to do the research every time you get a new client on keywords and their market and the language of their market and everything else. It's much easier to do the keyword research one time, get to know one industry, and then scale that in multiple cities, right? If you had a plumbing network, for example, you could talk to plumbers all across the country, and it would all fall into your plumbing network. If you have a network based around Atlanta, Georgia, then you might have to do keyword research for plumbers, and then one for electricians, and then one for accountants, and then one for attorneys, and then one for insurance salesmen. And so it's just a ton of additional research. But if that's what you want to do, that's fine. You can do that. Okay, last one. Can you explain how to answer the questions on the purchase form for the Done For You solution, please? Matt Fisher.
And I posted in there. I told him we probably wouldn't have time to do that live, but I'll get with him outside.
Yeah, that's fine. He asked us in the Facebook group too. Okay, I think that's it.
Matt, don't worry, we're gonna help you. We'll get to it.
Yep, Matt, just hit us up on support. We put a support widget on our main site now. I think you were the one that said you couldn't. Well, maybe not you. Somebody said they couldn't find support on our main site, and damn if they weren't right. There was no link to support. So now we have a support widget on our main site, semanticmastery.com. You just click that. You can submit a ticket directly from our main site now. Okay. All right, guys, we got to wrap it up. MasterClass starts in 4 minutes. By the way, guys, just as a reminder, MasterClass is rising. Well, both IFTTT SEO Academy and MasterClass rise in price next Wednesday on the 8th. So get on it now while it's still at $47 for the front-end product, $37 a month for the MasterClass, which is the ongoing training. It's like beginner to intermediate SEO and business building. All right, next week it rises to $47 a month, and IFTTT SEO Academy rises to $67 a month. Those prices will hold for 1 month, and then it rises again to its final resting place at $97 for the IFTTT SEO Academy and $67 a month for MasterClass. So if you haven't joined yet, please do so, and we'll see the rest of you in about 5 minutes.
See you, everybody.
Thanks, Hernan and Adam, once again for support.
Awesome. Have a good day, guys.
See you guys.
Bye.